Hello, friend, and welcome to this patron-only, member-only episode of the Renaissance English History Podcast, a mini-cast just for patrons and members. Thank you so much for being here. If you are listening to this, that means you are part of the very special club of supporters, and I am so very, very grateful to you. So in this mini-cast, we are going to delve into the enigmatic and rebellious world of Martin Marprelate and the controversy that surrounded him. In the late 1580s, an anonymous figure under the pseudonym Martin Marprelate unleashed a series of scathing tracts that shook the very foundations of the Anglican Church. These tracts, filled with biting satire and sharp criticism, attacked the episcopacy and the established church hierarchy, leaving a significant mark on English religious history. Today, we're going to talk about the origins, the context, and the mystery behind this notorious figure and his controversial writings. To understand the Martin Marprelate controversy, we must first set the scene in England during the late 16th century. The appointment of John Whitgift as Archbishop of Canterbury in 1583 marked the beginning of a strict crackdown on the Presbyterian movement within the Church of England. Whitgift, determined to maintain religious uniformity, initiated an era of intense censorship and suppression of dissenting voices. In 1586, the Star Chamber issued an edict that granted Archbishop Whitgift the authority to license and control all printing presses in the country. This move aimed to stifle any opposition and ensure that only the approved religious and political ideas were disseminated. It was within this climate of repression and control that Marprelate tracts emerged, boldly challenging the ecclesiastical authorities and risking severe consequences for their creators. The true identity of Martin Marprelate has been shrouded in mystery, sparking speculation and debate among historians. One of the earliest suspects was John Penry, a passionate Welsh preacher known for his vehement criticism of the church. However, the authorship tracts have been attributed to various individuals over the years. John Dover Wilson, in his 1912 book, suggested that the first three tracts were penned by the Welsh soldier Roger Williams, with Penry and the Warwickshire squire Job Throckmorton responsible for the later ones. Leland Carlson's research in 1981 pointed to Throckmorton as the primary author, and further contributions to the debate came from Catherine Longley and Patrick Collinson, who proposed George Carleton, and Henry M. Dexter, who argued for Henry Barrow. Recent scholarship, particularly Joseph Black's comprehensive work, has provided the most authoritative answer. Job Throckmorton, with assistance from John Penry, was the main author behind the Marprelate tracts. This collaboration involved not only writing, but also the clandestine printing and distribution of the incendiary pamphlets, evading the ever-watchful eyes of the authorities. The daring and ingenuity of these individuals ensured that the Marprelate tracts left an indelible legacy in the history of English religious dissent. The production of the Marprelate tracts was an audacious and highly secretive operation. John Penry, a Welsh Puritan, played a crucial role in this underground work. The logistics of printing and distributing these incendiary pamphlets required planning, constant vigilance to evade the authorities. Central to this covert operation was Robert Waldegrave, a skilled printer sympathetic to the Puritan cause. Waldegrave's expertise and willingness to defy the law made him an invaluable asset. The press used to print the tracts was frequently relocated to avoid detection by government agents. This mobile press moved from place to place, operating in secret locations across the country. Notable sites included the home of Mistress Crane at East Molesey, Sir Richard Knightley's estate at Fawsley, and the Whitefriars in Coventry, owned by John Hales. Each move was a calculated effort to stay one step ahead of the authorities, allowing the tracts to be produced and disseminated despite intense scrutiny. Penry's dedication to the cause extended beyond the logistics of printing. He was instrumental in coordinating the distribution network that ensured the tracts reached their intended audience. This involved a network of sympathizers who helped circulate the pamphlets, further complicating the government's efforts to suppress them. The clandestine nature of the operation added to the mystique and the impact of the Marprelate tracts, making them a significant thorn in the side of the Anglican establishment. The government was, of course, alarmed by the boldness and virulence of the Marprelate tracts and responded with equal fervor. Recognizing the need to counter the influence of these pamphlets, the authorities hired professional writers to produce counter-tracts. Notable among these were the writers Thomas Nash, Robert Greene, and John Lyly, who were tasked with crafting witty and persuasive responses to Martin Marprelate's attacks. One of the most colorful figures in this counter-pamphleteering effort was the renowned Cavaliero Pasquill, a pseudonym used by one of the anti-Marprelate writers. Although traditionally believed to be Thomas Nash, some scholars have cast doubt on this attribution. Regardless of the true identity, Pasquill's contributions were marked by sharp wit and a biting tone aimed at discrediting Martin Marprelate and defending the Anglican hierarchy. Francis Bacon, a prominent philosopher and statesman, also engaged in the pamphleteering war. His work, An Advertisement Touching the Controversies of the Church of England, was a measured piece that critiqued both the Puritans and the bishops, reflecting Bacon's desire for a more balanced approach to the religious disputes of the time. Martin Marprelate's tracts were characterized by a distinctive and irreverent style that set them apart from other religious writings of the period. They were a heady mix of nonsense, satire, protest, irony, and gossip, delivered with a pungent wit that resonated with common people. Martin's primary target was the episcopacy, which he lambasted with mockery and derision, portraying Anglican dignitaries as corrupt and out of touch. The first tract, the Epistle, set the tone with its bold and provocative content. It attacked specific prelates with personal abuse and ridicule, attracting significant attention and sparking widespread debate. The tracts that followed, such as the Epitome, certain mineral and metaphysical school points, and Hey, Any Work for Cooper, continued in this vein, combining serious theological arguments with a satirical edge that made them both entertaining and thought-provoking. The reception of the Marprelate tracts was mixed. While they were celebrated by Puritans and those critical of the Anglican Church, they were condemned by the authorities and loyalists. The tracts' popularity and their ability to stir public opinion underscored the power of the written word and the growing influence of print in shaping religious and political discourse in Elizabethan England. The Marprelate tracts were printed in a series of clandestine locations, like I said, each chosen to evade the watchful eyes of the authorities. The first tract, the Epistle, was printed in October 1588 at the home of Mistress Crane in East Molesey. Mistress Crane, born Elizabeth Hussey, was the widow of Anthony Crane, a master of the Queen's household. Her support and the secrecy of her home made it an ideal starting point for the tract's production. After East Molesey, the press was moved to Sir Richard Knightley's estate at Fawsley near Northampton. Knightley was a known sympathizer of the Puritan cause, providing a safe haven for the Marprelate press. The press then relocated to the Whitefriars in Coventry, the home of John Hales and his wife, Fredeswood. The constant movement was necessary to stay ahead of the authorities, who were relentless in their pursuit of the subversive printers. Further relocations included sites like Woolston and Hasley, where the tracts continued to be printed despite increasing pressure from the government. Each move involved significant risk and required the cooperation of various Puritan sympathizers who were committed to the cause of reforming the church. In response to the Marprelate tracts, the authorities commissioned a wave of counter-literature aimed at discrediting Martin Marprelate and defending the Anglican sentiment. John Lyly's Pap with a Hatchet was one of the most notable responses, characterized by its wit and satire. Lyly's work sought to undermine the credibility of the Marprelate tracts by mocking their style and content. Thomas Nash was another prominent writer of the period, and he contributed with An Almond for a Parrot. Like Lyly, Nash employed humor and satire to counter the influence of Martin Marprelate. There were also anti-Martinist plays performed in 1589, though these works have unfortunately been lost to history. These plays likely followed the same satirical and mocking tone as the written counter-tracts, aiming to engage and persuade the public through performance. The final tracts by Martin Marprelate continued the aggressive critique of the Anglican hierarchy. The just censure of Martin Jr. was among the last pamphlet produced, attributed to Martin's supposed sons. More work for Cooper, intended as a sequel to High Any Work for Cooper, was interrupted by the seizure of the press. Despite the authorities' efforts, John Penry managed to issue the Protestation of Martin Marprelate in September 1589, the last of the Marprelate series. Penry's relentless activism eventually led to his capture and execution in 1593, charged with inciting rebellion through his writings. The legacy of the Marprelate tracts endured beyond their immediate impact. During the English Civil War, Leveller pamphleteer Richard Overton embraced Marprelate's rebellious spirit, publishing tracts as Martin Marprelate. This continuation of the Marprelate legacy highlights the enduring appeal of their satirical critique. The significance of the Marprelate tracts in the history of English satire also cannot be overstated. Critics like C.S. Lewis recognized the originality and influence of these pamphlets, noting their innovative use of humor and wit to challenge authority. The Marprelate controversy was a defining moment in the history of English religious and political discourse. Through a series of bold and satirical tracts, Martin Marprelate and his collaborators challenged the authority and corruption of the Anglican Church, leaving a lasting legacy in both religious reform and literary history. The tracts' clever use of humor and satire not only entertained but also provoked critical thought, making them a powerful tool for dissent and change. So we will leave it there for now. Thank you again so much for being here. As always, if you ever have a request for a special episode you would like me to do a mini cast on, a special topic, just let me know. Thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for your support, and I will be back with you soon.
Blow, northern wind, a scent will make me sweating. Blow, northern wind, blow, blow, blow. Ich hatte Bord in Bauerbricht, dat soll is semlis on sich, mens gevoel meiden of me.